Surprising, a $200 per month raise to Social Security, including retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, and VA beneficiaries is a lot easier than what they think. I have all the details and the full breakdown for you right here in the video, so let's get right into it. Alright, now in this video, I do want to take a few minutes to discuss the infamous $200 per month raise for millions of beneficiaries that we've heard about and we've talked about so many times now over the last couple years. Well, I do want to give you all the details because it is so much easier than what Congress is making it out to be, and that's exactly what I want to show you right here in the video, so let's get into it and discuss all those details a little bit further. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so, and because I am your one and only daily advocate, I'm here for you right by your side each and every day, watching all this new information hitting the wire, doing the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay updated with what's actually going on, and most importantly, how it's going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account, and of course, anything showing up right now you can possibly grab and or take advantage of as a low income or fixed income beneficiary. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet so you don't miss any videos going forward, and also remember, I'm here for you in any way that I can be. That's my dedication, that's my commitment, and as always, that is my promise to you and everybody right here in the community. All right, thanks again. Let's get into it and talk about the infamous $200 per month raise per month for millions upon millions of beneficiaries, as this would be absolutely life-changing for the people who would actually get it in the event that Congress would actually do something like this. Now again, like I said, this is so much easier than what Congress is making it out to be. With all the updates and all the things that we've heard about, Congress is acting like this is impossible. There's no possible way we can get this done. Really? Because if that's the case, then I'm going to show you really quickly here, basically on the back of a napkin, how we can get this done, and it is not that big of a deal. They could easily get this thing done, and it would not even be that much work on the part of Congress. And we know for Congress, they don't want to do much work, right? I mean, it's evident, right? We can continue to see they only work how many days throughout the course of the entire year? It's not much. They're on vacation a ton, right? So anyway, we can talk about all that in a separate video, but let me talk you through the details here because I've done all the calculations, I've done all the number running based on the reports and everything out there right now. This is all what it comes down to, which by the way, all the fixed income beneficiaries that I mentioned at the beginning of this video encompasses about 70 million people. Now again, give or take a little bit, but I'm kind of rounding there. It's about 70 million people. Now let's just be fair for a second as well. Do all 70 million beneficiaries need a $200 per month raise? Don't get me wrong, everybody wants a $200 raise, but do all of the fixed income beneficiaries that I mentioned, do they all need it? Probably not. Probably more like the lower income beneficiaries are the ones who really do need it. Now, obviously, somebody receiving, say, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000 a month in Social Security, do they really care about an extra $200? Don't get me wrong, they'd probably take it, but do they really need it? Probably not, okay? We really need this to go out to the really low-income people, especially those people that are well below the federal poverty line or hovering right around the federal poverty line, right? So even if we were to adjust these numbers even more to really focus them on the people that are maybe below, say, $1,500 a month, maybe below $2,000 a month, it would really shave these numbers down a lot, right? So again, I'm just encompassing all 70 million people just for all practical purposes and for this conversation. But if we were to whittle these numbers down, it'd get a lot smaller. The more that we make these numbers and the more that we focus this $200 on the people who really, really, really do need it, right? Anyway, let me talk you through the details about this. So here's what it comes down to. If we run the calculations on this, if we were to implement a $200 per month raise for all the beneficiaries I mentioned, about 70 million people, it would cost $14 billion more per month for all of these benefits. Or, calculated out throughout the course of the entire year, it would cost an extra $168 billion. Now, if we look at it that way, we think, wow, that's a lot of money. That's a ton of money, right? $168 billion more. Well, is it really though? Let's look at some other details. So based on some new reports that we've seen out there, across all of these benefits, just in the fiscal year of 2022, remember, this is fiscal year 2022. We are now in fiscal year 2023, obviously, right? So As a result of that, just in the fiscal year of 2022, the Social Security Administration paid out $1.22 trillion in benefits across all the beneficiaries. Okay, so now let's compare this. $1.22 trillion is what went out the door to about 70 million beneficiaries in 2022. Now we're talking about $168 billion. Now let me ask you again, does $168 billion sound like a lot when we're talking about when we're talking about $1.22 trillion? No, it doesn't seem like much at all, right? Yeah, you're right. It does not seem like much at all. So in the event that they were to implement a $200 per month raise for all the beneficiaries, it would increase spending across the board for all 70 plus million beneficiaries from $1.22 trillion to about $1.4 trillion. Now, obviously, give or take a little bit there, but I'm just kind of rounding yet again. So it increased total spending from $1.22 trillion to about $1.4 trillion. Doesn't seem like that much, does it? You're right, because it's not. Now, here's the thing. Like I mentioned a minute ago, if we were to actually go through these numbers and kind of shave these down and say, okay, any beneficiaries receiving, below the federal poverty line, 100% they would get the $200 per month raise. Now, maybe if we did that, it would shave these numbers down a lot. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure how many beneficiaries are at that level, as in at the poverty line or below across all the benefits when it comes to Social Security retirement, disability, survivors, SSI, VA. I'm not really sure what that number is, but I know that it is a smaller fraction of the total 70 million plus beneficiaries, right? So let's just say for all practical purposes and for this conversation, let's just say, for example, it's 20 million people. Let's just say it's 30 million people, okay? Because we do know that SSI beneficiaries encompass about 8 million of those beneficiaries, and we know that those benefits are well below the federal poverty line. So let's just say for all practical purposes, it's 30 million people, okay? I don't even know if it's that many, but let's just say that it is. Well, implementing an extra $200 raise for all these beneficiaries each and every month and throughout the course of the entire year would be an extra $6 billion per month, or 72, is that right? Yeah, $72 billion more throughout the course of the entire year. Okay, sorry, I had to run the math really quickly in my head. So it'd be $72 billion more. So we'd essentially be saving about, $96 billion if they were to really make these payments highly focused. Now tell me that they can't do that. They can absolutely do that, right? The simple answer is yes, they can absolutely swing an extra $72 billion a year to change the lives of what I've been talking about in this example right here, of 30 million people. This would be huge, huge, huge money for a lot of people, and it would change the lives of a lot of people. Now let's quickly run the numbers over the course of the entire year. Now remember that $1.22 trillion is what they paid out in fiscal year 2022. Now let's add another, say, $72 billion to that. That would bring us in just below $1.3 trillion. In fact, it would be $1.94 trillion, right? No, let me say that again. Sorry, I said that way wrong. $1.294 trillion. Am I saying that correctly? I think I'm saying that right? Yeah, I think I'm saying that correctly. Anyway, confusing myself now with all these numbers, right? And I'm trying to calculate them in my head on the fly here. So I apologize if I'm off a little bit, but for the most part, it would be just below $1.3 trillion. Now tell me that they can't do that. The answer is they can easily do this. There is no excuse for them to not be able to do this. It's just a matter of literally writing this stuff up in legislation and then obviously getting it passed. Way easier said than done, right? We can all sit here and say, oh, it's so easy for them to do. Here's the math, here's the calculations. But then again, they're all going to come back and say, where's the money coming from? Well, my question to that would be, where does the money come from all of these other projects that they have that they don't really need to do, right? How about all the other spending that they do on an annualized basis that I think all of us could probably scratch our heads at half the time and think, are you kidding me right now? Seriously? You just spent $100 billion on that? Seriously? You just spent $400 billion on that? Seriously? You spent $1 trillion on that? You know what I mean? So for them to think that they couldn't come up with an extra $72 billion to improve the livelihoods of, say, 30 million people, or, however many millions of people, I would say there's probably no excuse for that at all, right? But again, they always have the excuses and they say, where's the money coming from? Well, again, let's push back and say, where does the money come from all the other pet projects that they have that they pass on an annualized basis that I think all of us could probably agree? We probably don't need to do that, right? So just saying. Anyway, but I want to break this all down for you so we can all see the details on this and what it would really shake out to be. It's not that much more spending on an annualized basis considering Social Security for all the beneficiaries is already sending out $1.22 trillion every single year. And here's the thing as well. In fiscal year 2023, it's going to be even significantly higher than that because of the 8.7% cost of living adjustment that all 70 million beneficiaries got, right? So if they take that into consideration as well, these numbers are going to be quite a bit higher anyway. So what's the big deal to just add a little bit more on top, right? Especially during this very high inflationary time and this very expensive time that we're living through right now. Let's just be real for another second here. Are the prices really going to go back down to what they were pre all of this stuff that's going on right now, pre-inflation, all this stuff? Are prices really going back to say, 2020 levels, 2019 levels? They're not. I'm not sure if anybody else is saying that they're going back down to those levels. I'm sorry, they're not going back down, okay? Prices will come down a little bit on some things, but what we're currently seeing right now on, prices on stuff, this is where they're staying, okay? Unfortunately, I don't want to be the person that brings you bad news, but unfortunately, this is what's happening, and prices are not coming back down. That's just what's going on here, okay? When prices go up, for them to come back down to where they previously were, their previous levels, not happening, okay? It's the new normal. We've been hearing this a whole bunch lately as well over the last couple of years. It's the new normal. Well, unfortunately, that's what they're all taking advantage of right now, and they're all saying, this is the new normal, and unfortunately, this is the new normal, okay? So maybe inflation stops going up as much as it once did in like what we saw in most of 2022, and, so far this year in 2023, maybe prices stop increasing at the pace that they were, but they're certainly not going back down to where they were, okay? So maybe on some select items, prices will come down a little bit more, but for the most part, where we're currently seeing prices now is where they're pretty much going to settle. This is where we're going to be at. This is the new normal, right? They love saying that, the new normal. I feel like, you know what? Take the new normal and go shove it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying here? You know what I mean? I'm so sick of it. I think all of us are so sick of all these higher prices these days. It's just like nuts. But yet, what are they doing to help the American people? Absolutely nothing, right? Anyway, I want to break this all down for you and give you the details and the full breakdown on all this, when it comes down to this $200 raise and the real numbers behind it. It's not that much. I think we can all probably agree here. Even if they were to implement a $200 raise for all the beneficiaries, like I mentioned, it would only be $168 billion. When you compare that to the $1.22 trillion that is going out in total each year out of Social Security for all the beneficiaries, we're not talking about all that much more money, right? And it wouldn't even be that much, especially if they've really gone through the numbers and they figured out who really needs the extra 200. Those numbers would be shaved down significantly, like the examples I gave you here in this video. Anyway, hope this one gives you a better perspective on what's really going on here and what it would really come down to. It's not that much, right? Anyway, I'm here for you in any way that I can be. I like to bring you all these numbers. I like to expose all this information so we can really see what's going on here, because a lot of times we look at the situation and think, oh, it's just way too expensive. There's no way that they would ever do it. But really, let's look through the real numbers here and see, and you can see clearly it's not that bad, right? So anyway, I'm here for you as much as I can be. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands upon thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day, have a good one, and I'll catch you again later in the next video.